Hi everyone, so we're back again with my top 10 tips for homeschooling to see you through the COVID-19 pandemic. Just want to kick off with tip number 4. Feast today, famine tomorrow. And it's very true. If you finish everything in your cupboards and in your fridge today, what are you going to have to eat tomorrow? One of the things that you really do have to do is be wise with how quickly you get through your groceries. It's very easy to get into the habit of snacking out of boredom and snacking just because the food is there. And children are brilliant at this. But one of the things that you have to remember is that when they're at school, they have allocated times for eating. They have breakfast, they have lunch. It may well be the case that they have one break, which permits them. Guys, you're making noise!
Walk out the door, you see someone that you know and they ask you how you are, and you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand.
So I think it's really important that you make sure that you allocate the day before what it is that you're going to have for snacks and what it is that the children are going to have for lunch and dinner as well as breakfast. And if it's the case that they have one snack during the day or 2 snack times, then that's the case and that's what they stick to. My mother would be mortified at hearing this because she's a typical Ghanaian mum and she just thinks that children should be able to eat whenever they want to, as much as they want to. I disagree because I do think it's also a good trait to develop where you exercise self-control, where you don't indulge, and it's good to teach your children that, because then you just find yourself in the position of constantly buying, constantly running out. And especially given the circumstances that we're in at the moment with the COVID-19 pandemic, that's not a luxury that is necessarily afforded to many. I think it's really important to allocate, snacks, snack time, lunchtime, as well as dinner and breakfast, and to plan those things. Fruits are fantastic options for snacks. I think, because they're also cheap, and they're healthy. So it'll be great to implement that into your eating plan. So yeah, that's tip number 4. Tip number 5, stay on top. I'm particularly referring to the housework. It becomes unmanageable and it becomes a headache and it becomes overwhelming when it builds up. And this is something that I'm always trying to make sure that I don't allow to happen. And it's something I learned from my mum actually, because there have been many times in the past where she's come over and she's helped to look after the children when I've had a wedding or an event. She doesn't let the dishes pile up. Whenever there are a few bowls and cutlery pieces and glasses in the sink, she's washing up as she goes along. This is something that I've now, taken on, and I try to implement in all areas of housework. I try to stay on top a little and often throughout the day. And I also try to make sure that I involve the children. They are responsible for keeping their room tidy and making sure that they tidy their beds after getting up in the mornings. But it's also important for them to tidy up their room where their toys are. Once they have finished playing with their toys, tidy up. And I make sure that they do that before the day ends, so that when the new day starts the following day, they come to a room that's in order, that's organized. It just helps with the flow of everything a lot more. And so I make sure that they are responsible for their own mess. After eating lunch, after eating dinner, they've got to, get rid of their own food waste, put their plates, put their bowls and cutlery in the sink. I involve them as much as possible with the housework. And it's really good for teaching them responsibility. It's really good for teaching them other skills like teamwork. Everyone enjoys being in the home a lot more when it's in order. So I always endeavor to stay on top. Tip number 6, perspective. If you have the right perspective about this experience, it really does help and improve your disposition and your attitude towards it. Homeschooling, it's a fantastic opportunity. I'm able to spend real quality time with my children to understand them, how they learn, what works best for them. All three of my children are very different. They have very different personalities and character traits, and they have to be handled differently. It's also fantastic to be able to have this much influence on their character development. There aren't as many other influences. I'm able to kind of observe how they deal with challenges. All of these things, all of these scenarios and circumstances really do expose and reveal certain things about their character: laziness, diligence, a very strong competitive streak, having low self-esteem, being very confident. All of these circumstances really do help me to see things in their character and to pinpoint areas that I perhaps want to work on. I consider it a huge privilege to be able to spend as much time as I do with them. I don't have as many distractions right now. I'm not as busy or as preoccupied as I usually am when I'm working and when I'm having to deal with X, Y, and Z. I have a lot more time. This is a wonderful opportunity. Let me make the most out of it whilst it's here. Yes, it's challenging. Yes, it's difficult, because you may well be in the position where you are having to work from home. And, that is in of itself a challenge amongst everything else. I get it. I completely relate to that. And I completely empathize with the struggle to juggle, as I called it. However, having that perspective, a positive outlook on the whole thing, is really going to help you to navigate through this experience with a pleasant disposition. And that's going to make it a lot easier for you. So yeah, that was tip number 6. Was it? 4, 5.
Stop it. Get some help.
Yeah. So yeah, that was tip number 6. Was it though? I don't even know.